Right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the Power Hour with the NAJ. My name's Steve Ennis. I'm the facilitator for the JBN, a group of 45 businesses within the NAJ who come together to share best practice and grow their businesses. I'm joined today by David Barrett, MD of IT Managed Consultancy. David's an expert in all things IT, but in particular, cyber essentials and cyber security. And it's that we're going to talk about this morning. It's now the case that cybercrime is globally the largest single entity of crime in the world. It's overtaken narcotics, which used to be the global leader. And we're not immune to this here in the UK as we endure quite significant issues around the protection of our businesses. So what we're going to look at today is what is the nature of the crime, how does it affect the jewelry industry in all of its forms, and how, as a business owner, can you protect your business so that you can go to bed in the evening safe in the knowledge that your data is protected and that your business can just get on with the business of growing. So, David, kick us off, if you will, and good morning to you. So tell us about what the problem is and tell us how big cybercrime is in the UK today.
The problem's significant and it's only growing, unfortunately, and that's because of the money that's involved with it. And small businesses are a prime target here as well, which I know a lot of the NAJ will fit into that bracket of the SME. And that's 81% of cyber attacks are against those SME businesses. Mm-hmm. So the problem's not going away, it's not going anywhere, it's only increasing. Businesses such as SMEs are heavily targeted. And you get 2.4 million attacks in the UK annually, which is huge. If you think about what that equates to, it's 5,326 attacks a day. That's massive, you know. And they've only got to get you once. That's the reality of it. All those attacks, it only takes one, and then that's your system's breached.
5,000 attacks a day. The maths on that's bonkers. That's 5 attacks a minute taking place in the UK right here, right now.
Yeah, absolutely, as we speak.
So that's insane. So how much does that actually cost UK businesses?
Yeah, so the cost is huge, the financial cost, 14.7 billion a year. You know, that's a massive amount of money. And as you said, it's already overtaken narcotics as the biggest global crime. And you know, it's huge as an industry. And the average cost to the UK is 2.4 million. And if you are breached, the average cost to be able to recover from that is £275,000. Yeah, that's a massive amount of money. And the average time it takes to recover from attack is 9 months. So it's not about just the impact of, you know, you've been breached and the cost of that. It's the cost of everything else around it as well.
Yeah. And I read somewhere that the individual impact is just shy of 200 grand per business attacked. So if somebody out there hasn't got suitable protection, the normal circumstances, it's going to cost the business 195k. So I guess to anybody who's watching this program, you ask yourself the question: Can our business afford the impact of £195,000 lost revenue, and the associated not just the financial cost, but the other impacts as well? So what we've learned is the crime is insanely prevalent. It's just happening every day of the week. The cost is enormous, but there's also other impacts as well. So what are some of the non-financial impacts that a cyber attack might have on a jewelry business?
Yeah, so one of the most obvious ones is the brand reputation, and the impact it has. You know, we've all seen cyber attacks in the news, and you know, you probably question yourself, have I got an account with them? What's the impact to me as a customer? But the impact on your brand reputation is that your customers are then impacted, and the kind of long tail effect of your cyber breach is not just the immediate, it's then your customers are then facing attacks on them because of it. So the brand reputation part, the impact on it, but also the human impact as well. I think we quite often underestimate the human impact of a breach. That's on your staff, it's on yourself personally, your suppliers. It just holds up your whole business, and the impact on your staff, like I say, is big as well.
I personally worked in a business a couple of years back where they endured a cyber attack. It cost the business £20 million. It was a large organisation, but the impact was enormous in the sense that the 2,000 employees were massively impacted in terms of the issues that surrounded the recovery after the event. So I felt it firsthand, and it's nothing that anybody you'd wish for.
Absolutely. I've spoken to a local authority, a leader of an IT company, the IT internally, that had been breached years ago, and she sat there in tears. Her team had been working all hours to recover it. The impact on them, their personal lives, but also she felt a degree of responsibility as well. This was her area of the business, and she was deeply impacted that she felt that she had let the organisation down. So the human impact is huge. It can't be underestimated.
So it's happening on a grand scale, and it's happening also in the jewellery sector, because we were speaking earlier and you said of all of the different organisation types in the UK, the jewellery sector is the 6th highest targeted environment. What do you think that is?
Well, there's a few reasons. One is the high net worth of customers, high value transactions, anything where a cyber criminal believes that there is money or credentials of people with wealth that can be exploited is a prime target. And I think that they will look at sectors where they think perhaps they are slightly green or naive in the cybersecurity world. So if they think that there is an easy win to be had, then they will go for that, as opposed to perhaps another sector who are spending a bit more money or are a bit more aware of the cyber issues in their sector.
Yeah. So I guess the main thing about today's webinar is we want to learn what can we do to prevent that from happening to your business. So Cyber Essentials is a facility that any business can take advantage of. Tell us about what Cyber Essentials does.
Yeah, so Cyber Essentials is a UK government-backed scheme, and it's in conjunction with the NCSC, which is the National Cybersecurity Centre. So that's the global intelligence for the UK in cybersecurity, and it's a basic level entry that anybody can get, and it assures that you have the essentials, is what it says on the tin. It's the essential standards of cyber protection that will prevent a high number of attacks, around 85% of the most common attacks, from happening to your business. So it's a certificate that you can then go on to get Cyber Essentials Plus, which is just an audited version of it. And it looks after 5 key control areas and goes through your business to ensure that you have those in place.
Okay. Tell us what those 5 key controls.
Yep. So it looks at firewall controls, how secure your configuration is, your setup, user accounts controls, malware protection, and the secure management of your systems. So just to go into that in detail, firewalls are the things that sit on your network boundary, and they prevent unwanted attackers trying to get access into your systems. When you're looking around user access control, it's, do people have the right level of access to access the right level of data? Make sure they haven't got lots of access to everybody's data, which helps with GDPR compliance as well. And the reason that you do that is because if their credentials, their username and password were ever breached, then the attacker has access to whatever that user has access to. So if you've given them access to everything, because that's your standard way of onboarding a new member of staff, then that new member of staff or existing member of staff, if credentials are breached, they've got access to whatever you've allowed them access to.
Yeah, okay. We talked earlier about the impact on cybercrime is about brand reputation beyond the cost. So if you were to get Cyber Essentials, there's a couple of things there in there. How do you let your customers know about it? But also, in regards to your supply chain as well, what questions should a business owner be asking of their supply chain in terms of their security of their systems?
Yeah, great questions. And the first one is, that you get a logo that you can put on to say you're Cyber Essentials certified. So you can put that on the footer of your emails, you can put it on your website, you can put it on the tenders or to your suppliers to let them know when they're doing contracts. But on that supplier question, that's really pertinent, because one of the main attacks is a supply chain attack, which is where they will get in, not to the person they're trying to attack, but to a weaker point further down the chain and work their way up into the different systems of different organizations. So when you're going out to tender, or when you're looking at new suppliers, you should always ask them the questions of, what do you do for backups for our data? How do you protect our data that's in there? And if it's not somebody who's holding your data, perhaps they're just supplying logistics or manufacturing, ask them, are you Cyber Essentials certified? Have you got any kind of accreditations or any kind of reassurances that you can give us that you are doing the basic things to protect us? Because essentially that's where it will end up.
Yeah. And of the attacks that have taken place, are there any that have actually occurred in the jewelry sector that you can share with the audience that might resonate?
Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately, we do hear about quite a few cyber breaches. The big ones you hear about in the news. Obviously, as we said, the smaller ones, the 85%, we don't hear so much of because they're not quite as big. But the big one that you hear of, there was a breach with Pandora Jewelry. And that was back in 2025, where they'd got in through a supply chain of one of the systems, and they'd breached a lot of data records of their customers. So the sector is certainly not immune to it. And there have been others as well, but Pandora is probably the most notable in the last 12 months.
And again, if the audience are not aware, this was a breach where it came through a third-party provider. 30,000 addresses, phone and emails, contact details, dates of birth were captured. And not only was that a problem in the moment in terms of the reputational damage that caused, but it's also probably still an ongoing issue, because each of those 30,000 are subject to the risk of heightened phishing attacks on their data.
Absolutely, and that's what I spoke about earlier when we talked about the long tail effects of a cyber breach. It's not the immediate impact, it's then the customers that you service, it's the impact on them, and they then become targets for those cyber criminals as well.
Yeah, cool. So what are the key lessons for the jewelry sector that people should take away from this chat?
So I would say go and have a look at the Cyber Essentials scheme. You can go onto the IASME website, ISAME, and you can also go onto the NCSC website as well, and there's free resources there. You can actually download and look at the question set to see what kinds of the questions are that you need to pass the accreditation, and there's lots of good free resources on there to use as well.
Yeah, and I understand there's benefits to be had from having Cyber Essentials in terms of our insurance claims. And the reduction in claims made once you've got Cyber Essentials. What's the kind of impact that might be enjoyed there?
Yeah, as soon as you get something like a Cyber Essentials, let your insurers know, because quite often you'll get a reduction in premiums for that. And yeah, it's only going to help in terms of insurance premiums.
Yeah. So if somebody were interested who's not got it, and by the way, that's a lot of people, there are 5.5 million registered businesses in the UK, but there are only 54,000 businesses have Cyber Essentials protection. So there's only 1% of the UK business population have this cover. And yet, should you have it, the risk of attack is reduced by 86%. So if I were a business owner, whether a jewelry store or a supplier to the trade, I'd want to get Cyber Essentials. So how do I go about getting it? What does it cost? How long does it take to implement? What do I need to know?
So if you've got an IT provider already, speak to them, reach out to them and say that we've seen this, or we're interested in Cyber Essentials. We want to make our cyber security posture stronger. They will be able to talk you through. If not, obviously you can talk to us about it as well. But for a small business, 0 to 9 users, it's around £320 plus your VAT to get the certification. If you're slightly bigger, 10 to 49 users, then it's 440. And then it probably will take, it does depend on your environment and the complexity of it, but on average, it's probably about £1,300 all in to get yourself certified, and you can do it in as little as a month, probably even just a few weeks if you're in a good position already, which I'm sure a lot of people are and just don't realise, because these are the essentials you're putting into place.
Yeah, and that certification lasts for how long?
It's a 12-month, so you can renew it after 12 months.
Yeah, and in terms of getting the certification, is there some training for the staff as well that enables them to manage and maintain the sort of standards that would keep the system healthy?
So what I would say is if you talk to your IT provider, they will be able to give you the insights as to what you can do with staff and how to best educate staff. That's the best thing, because your staff are your first firewall. We call it the human firewall to stop any cyber attack. So they'll be able to give you some cyber training around that. There are also, again, free resources on the NCSC for staff as to how they can help protect your business.
Yeah, cool. So for around about £1,500 to £1,800, depending on the size of your business, you can get the certification, you can get the training and the cover of protection for a year. After a year, how much does it cost to renew? Just the cost of the license? So
it's the cost of the renewal of the certificate, and then you'll probably have a provider spend maybe an hour or two just to ensure that there's nothing there. But because it's something that if you're working with your IT provider, they'll be staying on top of anyway for you, it should be really quick to renew. There are some changes coming in April this year to Cyber Essentials. They try to update it, not every year, but they do update it quite frequently, because obviously technology is an ever-moving beast, so you've got to stay up to speed with that. But generally, you'll get a good IT provider will let you know what those changes are in advance of that anyway.
Yeah, and so it's not a big cost relatively to the benefit that you get in the protection that you get. But on top of that, it's also like there's a psychological benefit of you're taking away a massive stress from the business. But it's also a massive assurance to your client base that says, if you're dealing with our business, your data is safe. So, absolutely. What's the sort? If there were 3 killer messages around how it enhances your brand in the eyes of your customer, what are the big things there that customers value from a business having Cyber Essentials?
I think you've hit the nail on the head with the first one, and that is they take the security seriously, and therefore my data. So therefore my data is safe with this particular provider. That's really the key message there that it gives. And if you're obviously renewing that certificate, then people will look at that and customers and go, this isn't a one and done. They're not just doing this for the sake of it. They are actually taking it seriously and protecting the data on a recurring basis. Yeah. So they're the first 2 points I would say. And then the third point is just a general awareness of cybersecurity. If you've got a general awareness of it, then you are more likely to be protecting people's data. And you can also then go and ask those questions of your suppliers as well.
Yeah. Now, IT managed consultants, there's no mention of the word Cyber Essentials within that. You're an IT managed consultant to smaller businesses. So what other forms of protection might a business owner enjoy or expect from their IT providers that can bring value to the security and ongoing maintenance of their business?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, we consult on what the problem is first within the IT world, and then look at it. And cyber is one of those key areas that we're active in. And in terms of what a good IT company would be doing is ensuring that your devices are staying up to date with the latest patches. That's one of the things within Cyber Essentials. They'll be making sure that the firmware, which is the software inside your firewalls and your protection, are up to date. And being able to pick up a phone and just ask a question of an IT provider of, oh, I'm not sure, I've had this email come in, or we've had this message pop up and I'm not quite sure what to do with it, and having that third-party knowledge and experience to be able to help.
Brilliant. So, well, there we have it. I hope that scared everybody to death. And I make no apology for it, because it really is bizarre how most people I speak with know about the risk of cybercrime, but do next to nothing proactively to protect themselves from the risk. So the key messages from today's discussion are, it's called Cyber Essentials because it really is essential. That if you're a prudent business owner who's really invested in protecting your brand and protecting the data of your clients, you would want and need to have Cyber Essentials certification. It builds your brand reputation massively. it sets you apart from your competitors because only 1% of the industry are protected. And it's something that therefore you can give to your clients as a sort of a marketing device that says, do business with us, your data is protected. And it's the case of the criminals are lazy, aren't they? Because they prefer the easy route in. So give us the analogy that you would have why a cyber security criminal would target a soft target rather than somebody who's got cyber essentials.
I mean, the old analogy used in the cyber world is a house. If your house is next to somebody else's and yours has got the front door open and theirs has got an alarm system on the outside, you can see a deadlock on the door. There's a sign that says guard dog, keep out. You know, which one are you more likely to go and attack? And with today's technology, you can use AI to very quickly do some very basic skimming of a business to be able to see whether or not, one, it's worth attacking, two, are they strong and well defended, or are they an easy target? And that means that, you know, with that advancement in technology, it's great for some areas, but in terms of the cybersecurity world, it's expanding massively and making targeting business easier. So it will look and it will report back to those cyber attacking groups which ones are the easy ones. And in some instances, you don't even need an end person as an actor, because the AI and the software that's built will actually be able to infiltrate it without anyone at the other end if it's that open. So that's the analogy we try to use to make that as easy as possible to understand. Of, you know, you've got two houses there, one's got all the security and one hasn't. Which one are you going to walk into as a burglar? Yeah, there we go.
And I'm pleased to report that the NAJ have had cyber essentials since 2017. So we are literally walking the talk on this one, and the protections are there within the NAJ. So I'd like at this stage to just invite the audience that says, one, if you've got any questions, could you put them in the chat and we'll answer them for you now. But if you're listening to this recording, this webinar as a recording later, and if you want to know more about cyber essentials, David's perfectly happy to take a call from anybody within the industry to do a courtesy call where your questions can be answered and kind of a diagnostic of what your needs might be can be explored.
Absolutely, yeah. And it won't be a sales call if you've got a question around it. You just want to understand something in your business or your security posture or maturity. You know, we're more than happy just to give advice and guidance on it.
Cool. Excellent. So there we are. Cyber Essentials is what it says it is. Protect your business so that you can get on with the business of running your business and build the successful jewelry businesses that you deserve. Have we got any questions from those in the chat that we might be able to address? Oh, we've done it well.
We've answered it all.
Great.
There are some top questions that generally come through when we do these kinds of things. So, and one is, what are the types of attacks that come through and way that people get caught out? And still, by far, the biggest is email phishing. So it used to be, you know, there's a prince of a certain country that's got a lot of money and he'd like your bank details, but we've moved on massively in that now. And you'll get links that look like they're from Microsoft, for instance, and it will say, oh, click on here to reset your username and password. And what they generally look for, just to give some tips around this as well, to give you some insight around this and how to look out for these phishing emails, they'll generally act with needing some urgency from the end user. They're looking for somebody who's time poor, who's going to click a button without thinking it. So there's always a sense of urgency to them, such as your account's about to be shut down, or you're about to lose your data, and everybody has a quick heart panic, and they go, quick, click on the link, or they'll go, oh, I need to enter these details in. Just my big top tip whenever you see anything like that is take a breath. Yeah, just take a breath. And if you're not sure about it, go away, have a tea, have a coffee, and then pull a colleague in and say, does this look right? Or, you know, if you've got an IT provider, obviously you can escalate to them as well to say, this doesn't look quite right. That's still the biggest way that companies are breached at the moment. And unfortunately, it's becoming even easier to set these campaigns up. There's something called an AI subscription for phishing now, where you can pay $10 a month and AI will write an email that looks legitimate. They'll put real life spelling mistakes in that are common. They will make it look as real as possible, and it will just send out to as many email addresses as it's got on record across to try and harvest credentials. So it really has, become a dangerous world out there.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, that's one of the biggest areas of breaches. Make sure that you've got another top tip is MFA, multi-factor authentication. So this is where you'll have an app on your phone and it comes up and you have to put a code in or it'll pop up. I know a lot of people go, oh, it's a bit of a hassle, but it really is a way to keep secure, with whether it's your Microsoft or your CRM system. Make sure you've got that enabled, because it's a real blocker for a lot of attacks as well.
And I've been admonished by David this morning for having passwords where it's my home time with a number and a capital letter. So
and just to give an example of that, so if you've got a password where it's got 7 characters, 1 uppercase and a number, have a guess of how many minutes you think it would take for a computer with a decent spec resource, to crack that password.
Well, my high security ones.
Yours is similar to a 7-character, I'd imagine,
about
1 number.
15 seconds.
Yeah, so it's very close. 1 minute. 1 minute that could be cracked in. Whereas if you have a 12-character password with 1 uppercase, 1 number, and 1 special character, it takes 34,000 years to crack it. So the difference between those two is quite significant. So I would say, make sure they're longer than 12 characters. 3 random words is a really good thing to use as well for passwords. Use a password storage manager if you're not good at remembering all the different types of passwords. And again, that's another key one. Make sure that you are changing your password and using different passwords for different things. 90% of people use the same password for every solution. That means if one system's breached, every system's breached for your credentials.
Yeah, there we go. Well, I have work to improve in my own space there, but we've had no more questions come through. So thank you for joining this call today, everyone. And we look forward to you having a safer future on the back of you making sure your business is cyber essentials protected. Thanks for joining.
Thank you very much.